Another federal judge has just shut down the Trump administration's efforts to deport people, arrest them and deport them for expressing free speech, expressing their opinions. We're specifically talking about Judge Young out in Boston, who recently shut down the Trump administration's efforts to arrest and deport professors and students who had expressed pro-Palestinian views. The argument that they were making is that this was motivated by politics. This was just people that were here legally, that were expressing their free speech, and they were arrested and they tried to deport them. And now a federal court has shut Trump down again. I'm Shant Karnikian with Brian Kabateck. This is Civil Action on the Legal AF Network. If you like this content, remember to hit that subscribe button. Brian, where do you want to start with this story here?
I want to start with how the judge started in the opinion. So I've never seen this before, but he apparently attached a postcard to the very top of his opinion before he even put the citation, the case citation in there, which was a handwritten note somebody sent to his chambers. Trump has pardons and tanks. What do you have?
Yeah.
And then what? Well, how did he respond, Sean?
He said, alone, I have nothing but my sense of duty. Together, we, you and me, have our magnificent Constitution. And then he dove into this case.
Here's how it works out in a specific case. So I want to start with explaining who this guy is. This, judge that undoubtedly the Trump administration will refer to as an activist liberal judge. No, not at all. In fact, he was appointed, he's 85 years old. He was appointed by Ronald Reagan, not exactly the activist left-wing liberal president. And he was appointed to be a judge in 1985. So he's been on the bench for 40 years. That's a very long time to be on the bench.
How do we know he's not on George Soros's payroll?
We don't.
Yeah, right.
We don't. And he was the chief judge for 6 years of the court. And he graduated from a small law school in Massachusetts called Harvard. He also was a U.S. Army captain in the 1960s. And he's been a lecturer at Boston College of Law, Boston University, and Harvard. He also has had a lot of very high profile cases, including the Richard Reed shoe bomber case in 2002,
right,
among others. So this is somebody who is obviously a dedicated public servant, right? But not, like I said, he's not a crazy liberal judge.
No, this is a respected jurist who's held this position for a long time, who was appointed by, would you say Reagan? Reagan-appointed. I mean, come on.
Right.
He's been around for a long time. This isn't some activist. This isn't some liberal or someone that's doing something crazy here.
So let's go through the case, Shant. Let's just talk about what this case basically is about. So I'll just start by teeing up the issue, which is very simple, like a law school exam, which is you have people who are in this country legally. They're here under certain student visas or teaching visas or whatever the case may be. And they engage in, speech conduct, not violent conduct. And their speech, we may disagree with it, but it was pro-Palestinian type speech, about what was going on in Israel and the Gaza Strip, right? So the Trump administration targeted, I believe there's 15 individuals. A couple of them were most notable, and you'll comment on those in a second. Targeted them for deportation because of their speech.
Right. One of them, for example, was a doctoral student at Tufts University. She was detained for 6 weeks after she authored an op-ed that took a pro-Palestinian position in the Tufts Daily, in a university newspaper. I can't think of something that's more sort of free speech-ish than doing that. It's in a university paper.
Person, Shant, that was on the street that they have the video where she gets surrounded by a bunch of ICE agents.
Yes. Yeah. She got surrounded by like 6 masked plainclothes agents just on the street. The government revoked her F1 visa. So it's not like she was here illegally or something. She's here with an F1 that's a student visa. She's here totally legally. Government unilaterally revokes it, doesn't give her a chance to deal with that. And then they show up in Somerville, Massachusetts, and they just pick her up off the street and they take her.
And then another one is Mohammed Khalil, right?
Yeah, that's another one. I mean, it's just, and what they were doing wasn't even challenging the Trump administration or something. And it wasn't, fomenting violence, fomenting dissent or anything like that. She wrote an op-ed that took a pro-Palestinian position. Whether you agree with that or not, it doesn't matter. You have to agree that is free speech. That is an exercise of free speech in again, it's not in a corporate newspaper or something like that. It's not in the mainstream media. In the Tufts Daily, in the university paper, a place that's supposed to foster the exchange of information and ideas. I mean, this is the perfect place for free speech and debate and things like this to happen.
So if you were in my class in law school, although I'm not a law professor, and I said to you the following question, Mr. Karnikian, does the First Amendment apply only to U.S. citizens?
Well, it depends. Am I a lawyer for the Trump administration? Because if I was a lawyer for the Trump administration, I would say yes. Immigrants don't have the same free speech rights as U.S. citizens.
And I would turn to you and I'd say, sit down, Mr. Karnikian, and see if you have a cell phone in your backpack, because you need to call your mother and tell her that law is not a career for you.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's such a fundamental misstatement of the law that the First Amendment doesn't apply. Those protections aren't available.
The Constitution
to
of the United States applies to anyone inside the United States, period.
That's what makes us the United States. That's what makes us a democracy and a great country.
Let's go over some of the things the judge said. And you and I can go kind of back and forth on this. I won't hog all the time, although they're pretty fun. The quote, the effect of these targeted deportation proceedings continues unconstitutionally to chill freedom of speech to this day. Close quote.
Yeah.
Your turn.
What I like is that he likened the immigration agents and their wearing of masks to KKK members and, quote, cowardly desperados. And he noted that, even the military doesn't even use soldiers with masks like the U.S. military doesn't. So for these stupid ICE agents to be walking around with masks, I mean, it is kind of cowardly. They say they do it to protect their identity. And it's like,
I didn't say you could comment on every quote. I just said you could read the quote.
Okay. I'll keep it shorter. Sorry. You're not really my law professor. Let's keep, that was just a little hypothetical scenario that we were role playing.
He emphasized that this is, quote, perhaps the most important case ever to fall within the jurisdiction of this district court.
Yeah. I mean, but the other thing that I'd like to point out is he predicted that this ruling won't stop the Trump administration. He thinks that they'll keep doing this and they're just going to balk at him. And he acknowledged that, but good for him to do that. Because
he noted that President Trump unapologetically increased his attack on First Amendment values, noting that Trump's immunity from personal consequences per a prior Supreme Court ruling, but criticized that ruling as a violation of his oath to defend the Constitution.
Yeah. He said that the federal employees, like the immigration officials that were reviewing these requests to revoke student visas and the ones that raised concerns about insufficient evidence, those were true patriots. And he said that they were being, quote, weaponized by their highest superiors to reach foregone conclusions for most ignoble ends.
He went on to say that non-citizens have the same free speech rights as citizens, which is exactly correct. And he then rejected the government's defenses to this. So he said that so basically what happened is he's issued an injunction, a 60-day injunction, that they can't deport people for the next 60 days anywhere in the United States based on these grounds. But, Shant, think the administration is going to follow this?
Yeah, no. And in fact, Judge Young thinks that they're not going to follow it. They think they're going to, balk at this and do whatever the hell they want.
When are good judges like this going to start holding people in the administration in contempt for violating the orders?
I mean, he might be one of them. And that is, and I've spoken with people about this, people much smarter than me, which is a lot of people, most people are smarter than me. But I've spoken with, for example, I won't name names, but I've spoken with a constitutional law expert who said that is the key to getting this administration to follow the rule of law, using contempt orders and using that power that courts have. And I think we've talked about that early on when we first started doing these, that's the tool that the courts have. So hopefully they start doing this. Hopefully this is a judge that does this.
Yeah. I mean, look, I herald this ruling, but in one level, and I guess this is my final thought on this topic, which is it's a great ruling, but why do we even have to expect rulings like this? Because it's so obvious and so clear. It's like, when I was my first few weeks in law school, one of my professors said, after you've been in the law for a while, an 8-year-old child can reach the quicker decision than you can sometimes about the correctness of something. And this is one of those situations. The First Amendment applies to everybody, and simply getting out there and stating a position that's unfavorable to the administration doesn't make you subject to deportation alone. I mean, if you came out and said, I think we should overthrow the government of the United States violently and kill elected representatives, sure. But when you just come out and say, I disagree with the policies of the United States, that's protected speech.
Yeah, that it's so obvious. I mean, it's so obvious. I mean, I'll close this out by kind of referring back to where we started, going back to Judge Young's quote, the words there, to we, the people of the United States, you and me, whether you disagree, he was saying this to a person that wrote in this anonymous thing, have our magnificent Constitution. That's all we have. And if we don't follow this document, this set of rules, then the whole thing falls apart. This whole, social contract that we have, this whole system we have falls apart. So, I hope this judge holds the Trump administration accountable. I mean, obviously it's a great decision. Yes, Brian, I agree that it's sad that we have to sit there and applaud things like this that are such obvious decisions, obvious rulings, but it's just a reality. And I hope a judge like this holds them accountable. And it's really, I think it's a good read, even for non-lawyers, to sit there and read this opinion, because it's so well written and really dives into all the issues here. And it's a good primer on the relevant issues and the relevant law here. So great work here by Judge Young. Hopefully we see more of this and we see him holding them accountable. Well, thanks for tuning in to this episode. I'm Shant Karnikian with Brian Kabateck. This has been Civil Action on the Legal AF Network. We love bringing you this content. If you like it, hit that subscribe button, share with us your comments, hit that like button, share this with anyone you think would enjoy hearing this, and hope to see you on the next one.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.